Hi, I'm Andrew, and welcome to the Neon Knitter. So, this is going to be episode 8 of the Neon Knitter podcast. And so, I've got one finished object, 2 whips, and lots of acquisitions. And no, I will not be showing you any acquisitions that I acquired at St. Cloud Spinfest, because you can just go watch my St. Cloud Spinfest video in order to see what I bought there. But these are acquisitions that I acquired elsewhere. But I'm going to start with the elephant in the room here, my finished object, and that would be my exploration station. So I'm going to take this off and show you. This is Exploration Station by Stephen West. You might recall that I cast this on in January during my Vloguary series when I had a little problem and my knitting needles broke and I couldn't work on my Aurora cabin shawl for about a week. I was so frustrated that instead of picking up a whip, I instead cast on something new, but I'm very happy with this. So I'm going to talk about the yarn I used. I don't have the labels with me, they're in the other room. I didn't think to go and grab them, but this is opal sock yarn, and I use 4 different colors. So there's 4 different neons that they make in opal sock yarn, and so color A is the pink. Yeah, the pink, which is color 2010. Color B is the orange, which is color 2013. Color C is the green, which is color 2011. And then color D is the yellow, which is color 2012. But yeah, this went a lot faster than I thought it would, honestly. But yeah, so this is the next one done in my journey of knitting all the past Stephen West mystery knit-alongs. So, yeah. And Exploration Station was the 2014 mystery knit-along. But I've only been doing the mystery knit-along since 2021, which was shellography. So, while I'm on the topic of mystery knit-alongs, so I subscribe to the West Knits email newsletter, and yesterday, which was June 9th, I think yesterday was June 9th, today's June 10th, I think, yeah. Anyways, I should know today's June 10th because today's Worldwide Knit and Public Day, which I'll tell you more about later. But June 9th, yesterday, I got an email from Stephen West, the West Knits newsletter, that he is doing a surprise mystery knit-along throughout July, and the requirements launch this Thursday. It's not a shawl. The mystery shawl knit-along is still going to be in October like it usually is. It's a mystery sock knit-along. And I don't normally knit socks, but I think this is going to be fun, okay? So expect me to do an intro video for that, and then 4 other videos for each of the 4 clues. So yeah, that'll be a mini-series I do throughout July, with a video potentially coming out next week when I show off my yarns, because I'm going on Father's Day to buy my yarns, because that's when I happen to have time. So I'll be going to Stephen B for that. And because I went to their Knit and Public Day event today, I get a special discount for attending Knit and Public Day. So yeah, that'll be a thing that I show off in next week, hopefully at some point, or the following week or whenever. But yeah, so be on the lookout for the surprise sock mystery knit-along by Stephen West, doing the contrast blast socks. So that'll be a thing while I'm on the topic of mystery knit-alongs and talking about Exploration Station. Okay, now I'm going to move on to whips. And I have two whips. I'm going to show them to you in the order I cast them on. I don't necessarily have the yarn labels with me. I apologize, I left them downstairs. But my first whip is what I cast on the evening that I finished my exploration station, and that is the Doodler. Now this is not on the correct knitting needles because I told you I have two whips, and so I put this onto a holder to cast on something new. So, yeah. But this is the Doodler by Stephen West. This is the 2015 Mystery Knit Along. So color A is this black and white yarn. That is Earth Yarn's Unique Sock in the colorway Zebra. So what Earth Yarn's Unique Sock is a self-striping sock yarn. It comes in these little cakes, and it comes in a box, and it comes with two little cakes, and the idea is you make matching socks. So I've only wound one of the two cakes into a ball, and when I need the second one, then I'll wind it. But yeah, so that's my color A, and then you can see my color B is this green. Hopefully you can see those green stripes separating the wedges on here, because Steven used a little bit more of a solid color for his color A, but I decided to go rogue and use a self-striping yarn. So yeah, color B is this green, and if you aren't able to notice it, here is the skein. This is sadly a discontinued yarn. Well, the color's not discontinued, it's a discontinued base. This is from Madeline Tosh. Sorry, this was falling apart, so I'm rewinding it as I talk. So this was from Madeline Tosh. It is their Euro sock. Yeah, they no longer do Euro sock. That base is discontinued, and I'm really sad about that because it's really nice yarn. And now whenever I need sock yarn from them, I have to get Twist Light. And I prefer Euro sock, so, oh well. Madeline Tosh, if you're watching this, please bring back Euro sock. I miss that yarn. But I doubt Madeline Tosh is watching, but just in case. But yeah, the green is Madeline Tosh Euro sock in the colorway Malmo, M-A-L-M-O. And then color C, which I haven't introduced yet, is this purple. I know this looks like a smaller ball. There was a knot in the middle, so it ended up being in two pieces, and I'm just showing you one of the pieces. This is also Madeline Tosh Euro sock. The color is called Wino Forever. That's going to be my color C for the Doodler by Stephen West. So that is one of my whips. And oh, this is how much I have left of the first little cake of the zebra yarn. So I will very shortly be moving on to that second one. But yeah, so that is my first whip I'm going to show you. Now, the whip I am currently working on, which is also a new whip, this is a new cast on. I just started this on Wednesday and today's Saturday. This is Southwood by Galt House of Yarn. I will insert a picture on the screen. This is not my first time knitting this pattern, so I'll insert on the screen the other one I made. It is a sweater. In fact, it was the very first sweater I ever made. I'll put that on the screen. I used Loops and Threads Flex in the colorway Light Gray. I think you guys saw that sweater during my Vloguary series. I think I wore it in one of the videos. But yeah. So I have two huge obsessions when it comes to knitting. My number one obsession is Stephen West and knitting his shawls and sweaters. But my other obsession is whenever Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or even if I go to a yarn store and find something weird and quirky, not like a hand-dyed sock yarn, but like, oh, that's quirky and weird, like that's a weird color combo in that acrylic yarn, or this yarn has a really funky texture, or whatever. I like to buy a sweater's quantities worth of it and knit the absolute most plain basic sweater pattern. And so I have a bundle on my favorites in Ravelry with literally like 6 or 7 sweater patterns, just plain basic sweaters. So I have a fingering sweater, a sport weight sweater, a DK sweater, a worsted sweater, which I also use Aran weight for that same pattern. So I didn't bother finding an Aran weight pattern. But anyways, I have a bulky pattern, and then I have a super bulky pattern. So that's 6 patterns. The only one that wasn't free was the super bulky pattern, but that's okay, because I couldn't find a free one. And then the fingering weight one is Flax Light by Tin Can Knits. So I'm just going to leave the garter stitch detailing off of the sleeves and do it plain if I ever find a fingering weight I want to do. But anyways, so Southwood by Galt House of Yarn is the worsted and Aran weight pattern that I found. Galt House of Yarn, if you're wondering, is a yarn shop in Cambridge, Ontario, in Canada. But yeah, their pattern's free, and so I used it for my very first sweater, and I have yarn to make several more of them. So last July, yeah, it was July of 2022, I went to Hobby Lobby, I forget exactly what day, and I bought this. 6 skeins of it. This is, oops, make sure I don't lose grip of it. This is I Love This Yarn. It is 100% acrylic, 252 yards, medium weight, number 4. The pattern calls for size 8 needles. I got gauge on size 9. Anyways, the name of the color makes absolute 0 sense whatsoever. Comment down below if you understand the reference, because anyone I've shown this to does not understand the reference, and I don't understand how Hobby Lobby named this. But this color is called Orange Zest. Yeah, Orange Zest. Makes 0 sense whatsoever. Orange Zest, I don't understand it. So if you understand why this is called Orange Zest, let me know. But yeah, I have 6 skeins of this, and I started a sweater. I am still on the yoke, but I have less than an inch to go before I split for the sleeves. So, yeah. And this was what I worked on at the Knit in Public Day event today, which I'll tell you more about during acquisitions. Yeah. Okay. So now, speaking of acquisitions, that's what we're moving on to. So, I'm going to start with, okay, I just grabbed everything and piled it all into one big huge bag because I was trying to grab it as quick as I could. So, I'm going to start with this yarn here, which you've seen some of this yarn before, but this was a fade I was putting together, and I finally bought my last skein for it. This is my fade for the Eyelet Burst Shawl by Stephen West. These are the 3 you've already seen, and as you might remember, that fade is based off this Wabi Sabi skein from Yarn Bee at Hobby Lobby, and that was my yarn shopping video I did when I went to Hobby Lobby, and I specifically bought this skein. You guys might remember that. And then I decided I was going to throw in this skein here. This is Little Gray Girl by Osaka in the color Disturbia. And then this was my souvenir skein from the Smoky Mountain Spinnery in Gatlinburg, Tennessee when I went on vacation. This is Knitted Wit Sock in the color Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So I had those 3 skeins already. And then, when I was at the Minnesota Yarn Shop Hop and I went to Stephen B., I saw another skein that would be absolutely perfect for my fade. Well, I financially couldn't quite swing it at that point, so I didn't buy it that day. But I did go back and buy it later. And this is the skein. This is from Yarn Snob. So Stephen, the Stephen of Stephen B, took a vacation to, I want to say it's Florida. Anyways, he visited Keith from Yarn Snob, went to his studio, and Keith let Stephen dye up some of his own exclusive colors. Now, what Stephen dyed is what Stephen dyed. There will never be more. They are not colors that are going to be repeated necessarily. But Stephen Berg of Stephen B dyed this himself at the Yarn Snob studio in Florida. I think it's Florida, not California, but I could be wrong, but I think it's Florida. So, yeah, and this is a good fingering base. So this is Yarn Snob, a good fingering in the color Kelp Girl. But again, just dyed by Stephen B. And I think that really ties in the fade, because it's just got that much more of the green than the Wabi Sabi skein does. So I think that really will tie in my fade and make my eyelet burst shawl look really beautiful. So that is finally it for that fade. Yeah. Okay. Next, this is something that never happens to me, but I got a phone call from Stephen B saying that I won some yarn. That's right, I won some yarn. What did I enter? I have no idea, but I won some Madelinetosh. Sorry, my shawl's like ready to fall off. So I won some yarn, and I didn't know what it was till I went to pick it up. All I knew it was Madelinetosh. And it was apparently for the Mad May thing. I don't know. But I won a kit for the bubble wrap cowl. I don't know the designer's name, but I won a kit for this cowl here. I might make this cowl, I might not. If I do, I might use different colors than I got. I don't know. I don't have the exact colors in the picture here, but you need 2 skeins of one color and 1 skein of another color. So here's the colors they gave me, and this is Tosh Merino Light. This color is called Meow. It's a gray. Oh, and these are single ply fingering, 100% merino wool, 420 yards. But the color's called Meow. It is gray. And then the one I have 2 skeins of is this purple here. This is called The Feels. So I haven't decided what I want to do with this yet, but I think that the Feels colorway goes really well with that green skein that I got at Shepherd's Harvest from Mode Knit Yarn. You might recall if you watched my Shepherd's Harvest video that Mode Knit Yarn is having me test out a new base for them, and it will be a single ply fingering. I think this would go really well with that. And if you're wondering, it is Mode Knit's Sonic Screwdriver colorway, which is lime green. So I think that would go really nice with it. So I might pair it with that. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yarn yet. All I know is I want it, apparently. So I went to pick it up. But of course, when I went to pick it up, I couldn't leave without buying something. Of course, I had to buy something, right? So that was the same day that I got this skein, if you're wondering. Yeah. But I bought some other things while I was there as well. So I also bought these 2 skeins. This is Oasis Yarn Aussie Sock and the colorway Wild, let me try again, sorry, I misspoke. Oasis Yarn Aussie Sock, the color is called Cherry Tomato. I almost said Wild Tomato. Ugh. Cherry Tomato. Cherry, yeah. So, it's obviously red. It is 90% Australian Merino, 10% nylon, 400 yards. Fingering weight. And then I also got this skein here. And this is Sundara Yarn Sock. In the color Daffodil. 100% superwash merino, 370 yards, fingering weight. Now this base is discontinued. Now Sandara yarn does still have a sock base, but I think they started getting their sock yarn from a different supplier. One of the downsides is I think it has less yardage than this does, and this already only has 370. So that's not a lot for sock yarn, because usually they have 400 or more yards, so, in most sock yarns. But, yeah, so I decided to pair these two with a bunch of yarns that I already have, and the yarns I'm pairing them with are some yarns that I've moved around and decided I was going to make this. Nope, never mind, I'm going to make that. Nope, never mind, I'm going to make that. So these are yarns that I haven't figured out officially what to make with yet, but I think I figured it out now. So I have enough of both of these to put in two different projects. So the first project I am putting them in is the Squiggles and Stripes shawl by Stephen West. And so color A is going to be the cherry tomato yarn. Or, well, I don't know if it's, I don't remember if it's color A, no. Main color 1. There's 5 main colors and 1 contrast color. That's what it was, right. I had to refresh my memory for a second. Main color number 1 is the cherry tomato yarn I just showed you. Then main color number 2 is this orange yarn. This is Osterman Step Classic in color number 1015. And this is not a new acquisition, this is something I already had. And then contrast, or main color number 3 is the daffodil yarn I just showed you. That's really nice, right? Then I don't remember which one's main color number 4 and which one's main color number 5, but whichever one's the darker one will be this, and whichever one's the lighter color will be this. So this is Lana Grossa Mielenveit in color number 1289. This has 230 yards in it, and I need exactly 230, so I really hope I have enough. And then this is Knitting Fever Indulgence Kettle Dyed Fingering in the colorway Mocha. You guys might remember that I was originally going to put this in the Locket Cowl, but I decided I wanted my main color and that to be more of a color pop, so rather than a brown, so I decided to put this in something different. So those are all my main colors for the Squiggles and Stripes shawl. Again, I don't remember which one of these is contrast 4 and which one is contrast 5. Whichever one's darker is contrast, or whichever one is darker, or whichever one is darker will be this one, and whichever one's lighter will be this one, but I don't remember right now. And then the contrast color, because it's 5 main colors and then a contrast color. The contrast color is lace weight mohair, held single. So lace weight mohair, and it's just contrast stripes in between your contrast 1, 2, and 3 stripes. Actually, now that I think about it, this might have been contrast 1, cherry tomato might have been contrast 3. I don't remember. I'm putting my darks and lights where Steven put his darks and lights, so I don't know. But those are my main colors, so. But here's my contrast color mohair. I only need about like 80 or 90 yards of this, so it's not a lot that I'm going to use, so I'm going to have leftovers, but this is my mohair I'm using. So I've had this in my stash for a while and I'm trying to use it. This is Shibui Knits Silk Cloud in the colorway Watermelon. 60% kid mohair, 40% silk, 330 yards. Lace weight. So, yeah, that's my contrast color. But yeah, in all of that, these are the only 2 new acquisitions. But that's what I'm going to be making with it, and so I thought I'd show you my yarns. Don't know when I'm going to cast it on because I don't really have a shirt for that shawl yet. But then the other project that I am going to put these in is the Aurora cabin sweater. You only need about 65 yards of each of these for that project. So I have enough to put in both that and the squiggle and stripe. If I only had enough for one or the other, I'd pick the squiggle and stripe. But yeah. So for the Aurora cabin sweater, here is my main color. This is Bad Sheep yarn, merino nylon sock yarn, 75% merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards. The color is called Flopsy. Now Flopsy isn't one of Bad Sheep's colorways. Flopsy is like their goof ups. So that's the same thing as like when Hedgehog Fibers does their potluck colors, or Madeline Tosh does one of a kinds, or things like that. But I have 3 skeins of it, and they only did one lot of it, of course. So they're trying to dye one of their colors, and they screwed up. And I bought this at my local thrift store. You guys have seen this yarn before. This is not a new acquisition at all. But it's worth mentioning, I paid $6 for all 3 of these. They were already caked up because the previous owner of the yarn caked them up and then decided they didn't want it and donated it. But $6. And this yarn is worth $87. So $29 a skein usually. So yeah. So I paid the $6 for this because I'm like, I'll figure it out. It's an amazing deal. So but that's my main color. Because 3 skeins should be enough. So then, I need 5 contrast colors on the yoke, and these are 2 of them. The other 3 are this purple here. This is Wisdom Yarns Angora Lace in the color Plum. So yeah, that's one of them. Then this is one of them as well, the orange I just showed you. And then finally, the other one is this mini skein. I have, I'll have about like 20 yards left, I think, maybe 10 yards, I don't know, but I finally found a project for this. So a while ago, I bought a sock set from Twin Mommy Creations. I mostly bought it for the name. It's absolutely hilarious. It was called Do You Want Me to Tell You Your Yarn Looks Like Dog Poop? I know. Search that up on Twin Mommy Creations website. Even if you don't buy it, she has the backstory of why it has that name on the product listing, and it's hilarious. So do go look at that. But this is the mini skein that came with the big skein. I don't have the big skein with me, it's upstairs. And I already have that planned for a project. Excuse me. But yeah, so I'm gonna put this mini skein, which is, it's kind of a green, I don't know. And I'm gonna put this in my yoke of my Aurora cabin sweater. So I think it goes really nice with the rest of the colors. And if you're wondering, the mini skein, the color is called Your Stitch Markers Look Like Crap. Again, go look at Twin Mommy Creations. The yarn is called Do You Want Me to Tell You Your Yarn Looks Like Dog Poop? It's a sock set, and she explains the backstory of why it has the name it has. So yeah, just go look at that if you want to know more information, okay? Even if you don't buy it, it's funny to just read it. But yeah, so those are my 5 colors. I don't remember the order I'm going to put them in, but I have it listed on Ravelry, so yeah. And then with the main color, I think that's going to be a really nice sweater. The Aurora Cabin Sweater by Stephen West. Now I'm going to go a little bit out of order with my acquisitions here and move on to an acquisition I bought today, and then I will go into one that arrived last week, because that one's kind of epic and deserves to be last. So, as I mentioned earlier, today is Worldwide Knit in Public Day. And so one of the people that came to the event, and this was hosted by Stephen B. One of the people that came to the event was knitting with this yarn they bought at Michael's, and I'm like, oh, I like that. And it was a yarn, I think I had browsed Michael's website and saw it already. They had a different color than I ended up buying, but I saw it and was like, oh, I need to have that right now, and I need to make a sweater out of it. And so, as soon as the event was done, I took the bus to Michael's and bought some. It's like, oh my god, that's beautiful. So I obsessively did that, which I hated because when I was waiting for the train, it was hailing and raining and storming very extremely hard. And I had to hold on to my umbrella for dear life. So that was fun. My knitting bag got all wet, and not all wet, but partially wet. My pants were partially wet. It was, yeah, it was pouring rain. I swear, it was storming today. Oh God. That lasted for a couple of hours. So by the time I got to Michael's, it had stopped raining. But as soon as I got off my, and before I got on the bus to leave the event, it was not raining. But once I got off the bus and was waiting for the train, it was just a big downpour. Just awful. But I survived. And it was worth it to make a trip to Michael's. Anyways, so this is Loops and Threads Heathered Tweed. The color is called Black Rainbow. The color is called Black Rainbow. It is a lightweight number 3, or a DK weight. Yeah, I don't understand this, but it's a DK weight, but it suggests size 10 knitting needles. DK weight that suggests size 10 knitting needles, I don't understand. Maybe it's because it's chain spun, I don't know. But I will be doing a DK weight pattern, but yeah. 66% polyester, 30% acrylic, 4% wool. Hand wash, do not bleach, dry flat, do not iron. And also, for those of you who sometimes shop at Michael's, but not frequently enough to know this, they changed the logo for their Loops and Threads yarn. So, that Loops and Threads got a facelift on their labels. But this is the yarn, called Black Rainbow. And I bought 3 skeins. So, yeah. And that is going to be a sweater. It'll be the Real Easy Raglan by Emily Bolduin, because she's the one that designed the extremely basic DK weight pattern I found for sweater. So, yeah. So I had to have it, because immediately when I saw her yarn that she was knitting with at the event today, that lady, I forget her name, but I immediately browsed Michael's website and I saw the different colors of it so that I could get in and out at Michael's. But yeah. So, yeah. So that is that. So before I show you my final acquisition, I should probably actually tell you about the Knit in Public Day event. It was hosted by Stephen B. It was at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts in, of course, in Minneapolis. And we all sat in front of the cafe there, and we were knitting. And for those of you who don't know, Worldwide Knit in Public Day is always the second Saturday in June. And yeah, the only bummer is that Steven himself, he was not feeling well today, so he stayed home sick and couldn't show up. That was a bummer because he was all excited to go, and yeah, but oh well. Still had fun. The event was from 11 until 3, but we all ended up finishing early. We left around 2. I was going to stay till 3, but I was the only one left after 2, so I just decided to go to Michael's and get that yarn and then go home. So that's what I did. But it was real fun. Got to meet some knitters I'd not met before, and yeah. And then, of course, like I mentioned, one of the knitters was knitting with a yarn that I was immediately had to go and get at Michael's. I was like, oh my god. So, yeah. Okay, my final acquisition. You guys, this is epic. This is another yarn I bought to make one of my extremely plain sweaters. It's a very busy yarn, but this is a super bulky number 6 weight yarn, and so I'll be doing the Stockinette Beginner Raglan by Knititude. It's the only very basic sweater pattern I've ever had to pay for. It's bigger than my head, you guys. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this is the Karen Anniversary Cake. The color is called Spice Dots. It is 100% acrylic, super bulky number 6, machine washable and dryable. Don't trust that, I'd still hand wash. But it's a super bulky number 6, 1,061 yards. I know, crazy. So, yeah, I absolutely love it. And yeah. So, with that being said, that is it for acquisitions. So, that is everything. So, I am Andrew. Thank you for checking in here at the Neon Knitter, and I will see you in my next video.